Good afternoon to one and all present here. I feel honored to introduce Gugulethu Swane, the Deputy Director General for Institutional Planning and Support for the South African Department of Science and Innovation. She holds a master's in business leadership from the University of South Africa's School of Business Leadership and Advanced Management Developed program from Gibbs and a degree in biotechnology. She is motivated, well-grounded, solutions-driven, cross-functional strategic thinker with an ability to analyze complex situations. She sees herself as an empathetic and empowering leader. Her core is business and operational strategy, planning, and reporting. Other areas of competence include operations oversight, strategic communications, audit, risk and compliance, business development, project management, governance, and strategic stakeholder relations. She is highly independent and excellent communicator with an ability to work under pressure with a diverse stakeholder base. She has held several senior and executive management positions with some of the key South African state-owned entities, such as Agricultural Research Council, the South African Forestry Industry, the Richards Bay Industrial Development Zone, and the cross-border road transport industry, amongst others. Apart from her executive role, she balances that with being a mother of 2 sons and a daughter. She is also a gardener who does some painting and sewing. She is also very much involved in her church's outreach programs, which looks after the poor and the vulnerable through providing food parcels, care packs, and any other useful donations from the congregations. I'm honored and pleased to welcome you, ma'am. Hello.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon from South Africa. I hope I'm visible from that side. I don't have the best network this end, but I'll try my best. As introduced, my name is Gugulethu Zwane. I work for the Department of Science and Innovation. Thank you very much for this opportunity to celebrate the greatest man ever to come out of our country, Dr. Nelson Mandela. We've had quite a rough week as South Africa. I'm sure you've seen in the news. And this could not have been a better time for us to take a step back and remind ourselves of the values that came from Dr. Mandela and what he stood for as we try to rebuild our country considering the recent crisis. I really enjoyed Doreen's talk as a young woman on leadership and all the traits that she had highlighted. I'm also starting with a quote from Dr. Mandela, which says, "Lead from the back and let others believe they are in front." My take on leadership in general is that I'm always conscious of leadership, not only from a corporate perspective, but also my personal life. Somehow I believe that these two should balance. How I lead at home, exactly like Doreen was saying it, I was sitting there thinking she's speaking to exactly what I'm gonna talk to. How I lead at home and being an inclusive leader, and also taking some of the things that I learn from that leadership on the home front to the corporate space at work, where I have to understand at home that I'm not the only person that occupies the space. There are other people that must have their say in the running of the household. That's the kind of leadership that I also put forward in my workplace. What does this mean? It means that I am very much aware of the leadership traits that influence my personal space and also beneficial to my role as an executive. I would like to just advise young people as I speak to take some of the pointers based on my own experience as I grew in my career. Some of it I wish I had woken up earlier to say, oh, in my 20s, this would have worked better. But I also believe that everything happens for a reason. We just have to note the journey of our life. How does it help them to become a leader that can balance both your personal and your corporate side? It's because it's something that you have lived. You are able to relate your truth. It's my journey, it's my story. People these days are looking for authentic leadership. You can't go out there and be claiming that you are something that you are not. And in the long run, as a leader, you need to be aware of your purpose, find your personal purpose. What is it that I was brought here to do, or the difference that I was brought here to make in this world? It's brave conversations that you need to have with yourself, but at the same time, as you are trying to find your purpose and implement it, even in your workspace, you must still be aware that the business has its own purpose. I always follow the lady by the name of Bridget Hyacinth. She is always talking about putting human back into human resources. Over time, we have become digital as people, even the way that we do things. We are pushing revenue at a cost of whatever. What then matters is that we have the numbers. We can say we've achieved the company's goals at the expense of ignoring empathy. It's important that as a leader, you are empathetic. As empathy has now over the years been overlooked as a soft skill or misinterpreted. People think that if you're an empathetic leader, you are a walkover, you are too soft, you must be authoritarian and be pushy and be bully sometimes even. And yet, if you're an empathetic leader, you understand the needs of others and you are also aware of their feelings and thoughts. That goes a long way into creating a team that works well, teams that have got synergy. You must also, as a leader, be inclusive. And as I go along, I am sure we can all see these traits in the Mandela kind of leadership. At some point, we've lost the ball somehow. We've dropped the ball because people have become quite selfish in their leadership. You must be an inclusive leader with the capacity to develop relationships with people that are very different from you. That is like socioeconomic status, cultural, political views, and so on. Be a leader that involves your team and create meaningful connections, really, really meaningful connections. And people will always feel it if you are not genuine. We are called to be servant leaders. Once we take a step back, it stops being about me and thinking that I'm here to serve. The perspective is completely different in how then you move forward as leading or a leader, leading a team, or leading wherever, in whatever space that you are in, starting with leading self. Be a humble leader. A humble leader will always listen, will always communicate, will always be transparent. You share knowledge, you engage people that you work with, you facilitate innovations, you encourage innovations, and you encourage healthy debates. It's not my way or the highway kind of environment, but I must also be willing to listen to others and even implement their ideas, because the whole point is that we are all for the same goal. And have a strong vision as a leader. It should not be shakeable. Other things are flexible. You could have a flexible strategy depending on what is happening at that time. Are we ready for crisis? We can alter our strategy, but what is our biggest vision? What do I want to achieve as a leader? What do we want to achieve as a team? What do we want to achieve as an organization, even the vision that we would have for our children. And you start planning early because as a parent, you have a particular vision for your family, which you would then tweak along the way as life happens, but the focus would be on that main vision. It's important to create an environment of trust where you allow people to have safe spaces without using their struggles to remind them of their weaknesses. I've had experiences where you have a leader who, when you tell them of stuff that you are going through in confidence, maybe it's something that's happening at home, all of a sudden the same person is talking about it in a meeting to make you feel small. And it's important to be a leader that understands that people are going through a lot, and not many of us would find people that we want to speak to in confidence, or they just do not exist. So sometimes you go to somebody at work and you confide just because you want to offload and you just need support at that time. It's not good then to use that to then see it as a negative in terms of somebody's lives. And people must be encouraged as teams that we hold each other, we share each other's burdens. If we are going through COVID right now, do check-ons on each other. What are you going through? Are you fine? Have you vaccinated? How has it treated you? I remember that you had a parent that was not well. How is it going? Just be there for each other. It goes a long way. We always think being there for each other means monetary terms. It's not the case. It's just caring and showing that you are always in consistent reminder and thoughts of others that are going through stuff. Motivate your people, recognize their achievements. They must also feel each day when they wake up, how do I go and make a difference in somebody's life? It could even be a colleague. It could be a granny crossing the street. If somebody felt better because of you, that is enough. For me, self-awareness is quite important. I also am a person that time and again recognizes my personal limits and learn from my mistake. If there's a problem or I'm not getting along with somebody, it could be a leader or a subordinate, I question, what is my contribution to this problem? What lessons am I being taught before moving forward? Because I also believe that some problems will not pass until you have acknowledged the lesson. Young people, be conscious of your life journey. Everything you go through, you are always being prepared for what is to come, always. If I can give an example, in my career as I was moving up, I would, like the lady that introduced me said, my core is strategy, M&E and planning. And you apply for a job, those are the job specs, but you get to a job, 6 months down the line, a colleague resigns who is heading a particular, in my case, it was communications. I had not done anything in that field, but they were not ready to replace him. And then they said, here, you take this and take it. And before you know it, it's in your space, you are working on it. You move on and something similar happens. One day, you find yourself in a leadership position that is being advertised with all these job specs where it all makes sense why you had to go through the things that you went through, because now you have experience of things that just landed on your lap. It's either you embrace them, you take them as opportunities, or you reject them. But all the time, at the end of the day, down the line, in hindsight, you will see why it had to happen. Use your intuition and your authenticity to also be very in tune with the values, to a point where you reject what is not aligned to your value system. It's fine to do that. Nobody's gonna hang you. It's your life. It's always very important to be in tune with yourself. If you are in alignment with what not to allow in your space, that is where you enhance your purpose and your leadership as well. Take risks, but don't be reckless. Anticipate change and be prepared and ready, like we are going through what we are going through now as a country. I don't think any of us saw it coming, but definitely going forward, I think we would act better so that we do not go through what we are going through again. And that's for us leaders within our own spaces, even in your own home. How do we make sure that if something like this had to happen again, we are ready for it? How do I make sure that if something have to happen again in my community or town, I'm ready for it? Take courageous leaps and dare to be different. It's okay to be different. Choose your battles. Ask questions. Is it something really worth my peace and the peace of my team? And people like Nelson Mandela, it's quite important to go back and look at how they addressed certain issues. He could have come out and gone the other way to settle scores, but it's a reminder that what is it that is important to us as humanity as a whole. That's why sometimes there are things that you just need to let go. Take care of yourself as a person, because that is how you unleash your superpower, like Doreen said. Because once you look after yourself, delegate, take care of your health and everything else, so that you are in that zone where you are able to take a step back and jump in when society calls for your leadership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. It was an insightful speech with knowledge of experience and the thoughtfulness of being a leader. As you mentioned, I would like to reiterate what you said. Compassion is the need of the